Good afternoon, everybody. And this is Dr. Betty again with the Dream Team. And today's episode, we are bringing a little bit of a different view of what we have done for our clients. Now, today we have a little bit more time because there are three of us instead of five of us. So we're gonna spend a little bit of time talking to one another and asking each other a little bit of questions that maybe you might want to know. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and each of us as we post this in our own video channels, we're going to be answering for you. So with no further ado, the way that we do this is we talk about the type of client that we served, what the situation was, what we did about that particular situation to solve the issue, and then what results we got as a result of whatever treatment we did. So, Amanda, let me start with you since you are on site and ready to
Yes.
talk about your client.
Yes. So I got my power tools today.
Very good.
I know I talked a lot last week about getting one of my clients the financial uh, readiness to get into her first two rental properties, right? Well, my whole journey started in real estate investing. So as I began my coaching platform on investing in general, obviously that's my heart, that's my experience, that's the one I know best. So I had a specific course that I created for people who wanted to get into real estate investing. And even though I do business development, I do think there's a lot of correlation with that. Within that program, I had a woman come in because I do really focus on women getting into investing, stepping into their power. And she had always wanted to get into real estate investing. And I explained to everybody, this isn't what you see on HGTV. I promise you, that is not what it looks like. But we really dial into what it is the numbers. Same thing in your business. You start with your exit strategy. And so you have to go in knowing, are you going to buy and hold this as a rental property? Are you going to have it as a short-term rental? Are you going to fix it and flip it? There's a number of ways. Start with your exit strategy in mind, and then how are you going to purchase it? What type of financing are you going to have in place? And knowing your cost of goods sold, having your budget ready. So we go through all those things just like I would with anyone in their business, because the numbers tell the story, right? The numbers are what matters. It doesn't matter what kind of light fixtures I'm here installing today and how pretty they are. That matters to the buyer, but that doesn't matter to your bottom line. So I really worked with her on the numbers at the front end. The acquisition of the property is where your money is made. So not only are you identifying a property that you want, you're getting the numbers to make sense before you buy. All right, so we identified the property, we found the proper financing, and then we have to go through and really look at what needs to be done, right? Bring in contractors, get bids, scope materials, do all the things. That's your cost of goods sold right there. That's your labor costs. And so same thing in a business if you're going to do that. So really walking hand in hand through that process to teach someone how to run a project and really putting the focus on those numbers at the very beginning, how to manage labor, how to do all these things. If you haven't done it before, you don't know what you don't know. And like I said, the fun part is swinging a sledgehammer and knocking down walls and cabinets, but we were able to help her identify the right property, get the proper financing in place, walk her through getting the scope of work correct, sourcing the right materials, and having the proper exit strategy in place first so that the project stayed on time, project stayed on budget, and she chose to fix and flip it. We had studied the market with her. We knew where it was and what the market was turning for. So she was able to list it at the right price, and it went under contract the weekend she listed it. Okay. That was a huge success for someone's first project. I will tell you, most real estate investors lose money on their first project, statistically, and they don't budget right. They put it way overpriced. They do so many mistakes along the way that just add up. But through our coaching program, really working one on one to teach all the strategy along the way, she had that baby under contract first weekend, and it was a huge success. She learned a lot, and she wants to go do it again and again and again.
Wow, what a fantastic strategy. And so very few people do a lot of coaching one-on-one every step of the way. Do you charge separately for that part of it, or is that part of the whole program?
No, we charge separately for that part of it. We have a course specifically on the acquisition and the financing where we work with you until you get your property. And then if you want to continue that one-on-one coaching to walk you through the entire process, they call me the redheaded remodeling realtor. So I can work through that with you too.
Beautiful. Elizabeth, did you have any questions before we go to you?
No, I mean, that's an extraordinary example of how you've been able to help elevate women and their path into wealth and their own self-sufficiency. And you're right. I see many entrepreneurs who make a ton of mistakes in the initial phase and are not so fortunate. They learn, right? They learn so the next one is a little better and the next one's a little better. And as long as that entrepreneur is open to learning and taking those learnings and, changing and modifying their behavior and their strategy to account for what they have learned, then they tend to be much more successful. So beautiful.
Yep,
Yeah, I wish
completely.
they all worked out that beautifully. We know there's risk involved with everything and there's mistakes to learn from. But that was just a really exciting story. And you hedge your bets when you do your homework and you put in the time and learn to, Elizabeth, you know this, Dr. Betty, you know this more than anybody, having that exit strategy firm, upfront, knowing your numbers, it really helps you stay on course and avoid a lot of those mistakes.
Yeah.
I love that. So the three key lessons that I got from what you just said was start with your exit strategy in mind. So begin with the end in mind. And we talk a lot about that. You make your money when you buy. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to the lady. You make your money when you buy. You don't wait to sell to make your money when you sell. It's the negotiation program at the very beginning. That is when you make your money. And then you working one-on-one with someone that really understands the topic, that really can help you. Having that coach next to you is so very important. So Amanda, thank you so much. Great, great, great story. And with that, we're going to go right into Elizabeth Fuchs. Elizabeth, please tell us about your client.
So I'm going to narrow the scope a little bit. So I deal with a lot of importers and exporters, and they're established businesses that are just continuing to expand into either new markets, new territories, and that's kind of their growth strategy, right? Looking for new markets where to sell to. But the issue with let's focus on an exporter. The issue with an exporter is how do you know that once you put your stuff on the boat and it goes for 45 days to the end destination that you're actually going to get paid? So a lot of entrepreneurs, what they do is they're like, okay, great, I will sell you my widget, right? But you need to pay me first. And a lot of customers are like, wait, how do I know you're going to send me the stuff that I don't get to see for 45 days if I pay you up front? So there's always this dichotomy in terms of, well, who's going to take on the risk? Who's going to take on the risk on that transaction? And how do I make sure that I don't lose that sale? Because I am dealing with somebody outside of the US. It's in a different country. Don't know much about this company. How do I establish that relationship? So instead of just relying on open account or relying on cash against documents or relying on prepaid, there are other instruments that people can use. There are trade instruments that are specific to what an exporter does. And a trade instrument can be anything between a promise between banks that they're going to pay each other once the goods are on the boat, and you show that there's an invoice and a listing of everything that you're selling, to just a gentleman's agreement that yes, all the documents have been sent, and now it's just a documentary collection. So it really ranges in different levels of risk mitigation. Remember last time I spoke a lot about risk mitigation. How do I ensure that, a sale is only as good as you collect?
Yes, you did say
So
that.
this is a great example of how you can secure sales by leveraging these trade instruments. Like I'm going to focus on a letter of credit. A letter of credit allows you to um, basically have nothing to do with underwriting that potential customer and really relying on them having access to their own working capital through their bank. So their bank will then send you a letter of credit that says, yes, once you ship these goods, we will pay you. What you can do to enhance the ability to get more customers and say, great, not only do I want a letter of credit, I'll give you a letter of credit with terms. And what that means is instead of just saying, okay, once I ship the goods, you pay me, bank. No, you're going to say, okay, great, I'm going to ship the goods, but I'm going to give you 45 days to pay me. But you still have the promise from the bank that they're going to pay you in 45 days. So again, your risk moves away from the account debtor, the client that you're selling to now their bank. And if you have a good bank that you have your business with, they can help you determine if that bank is of credit worthiness. They will tell you, yeah, that's a great bank. You're good. Or they will say, you know what? That's a really teeny itty bitty bank that we don't know anything about. I would suggest that you confirm that letter of credit. And that's just an extra guarantee that that letter of credit is in good standing. So again, it's a way for you to identify ways to gain more sales because you are giving that buyer options on how to be able to procure your product. You're giving them terms, which allows them to actually get the goods and sell right away and then be able to collect and pay you before it's due to you, right? And for you, it mitigates your risk of not getting paid once you ship your goods. Because that's a big key, especially when you're exporting stuff all over the world. And that can be problematic when it ends up in a different country and then you don't get paid. Then what, right? So that's an example of how we've helped our exporters, really finding ways to enhance their sales, actually get more sales, right? And make sure that they get paid for that sale by taking the risk away from that account debtor and moving it off to their particular bank.
That's wonderful. And there's no way that they would have known any of this without your expertise because people think I'm banking with a bank I'm FDIC insured. If you're in the United States, I'm FDIC insured. This is a really good bank no matter what. And it's a known bank in my neighborhood. And I get the really good treatment, and they call me by name, and I really like that. And my employees walk in. But when you get to a certain size, the reputation of the bank is so important. So the risk mitigation is so critically important. And this is one of the pieces that actually, just like Amanda, what sets Amanda apart is her experience and her ability to hold the hand of the person, be able to negotiate at the very beginning and all of that. What sets you apart is you are specialized in the importer exporter business. You are specialized in the risk mitigation strategy. Very few bankers I know in my career that specialize in that particular part of the strategy. And that is so critical. People don't think about that.
No, and it's particularly important in certain parts of the world, right? And how we do business here in the US is not necessarily how business is done across all countries around the world. And these trade instruments are very, very, very common in like the Asian market. Super common. A lot of how they do their banking financing is all done through trade. It all has to do with a purchase order. It all has to do with how long is it going to take to get the goods in and when it's sold. And all of the revenue and all of the money that's transacting between all parties involved has to be tied to a specific trade. So these trade instruments are very, very helpful in those jurisdictions and in new jurisdictions as you're going into, because there's country risk, there's political risk, there's currency risk. There's a lot of different risks that are involved that one needs to take into account. So the more tools you use to kind of minimize that risk, the more you are securing the margin at the end of the day once you close that transaction. And that's really the name of the game, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's wonderful. Amanda, do you have any questions or comments about what Elizabeth just presented? This is absolutely wonderful.
No, and that's what I love about this group, including those who aren't here today, is we have such a wide scope of what we do, but we are very focused on something. And like Elizabeth, what makes us different is our process and our framework. And taking it from that angle, and really, it's just like holding the hand. You're holding the hand of someone who doesn't know. And we see so many, we have, all of us have seen businesses that have come to us. And that's what I say, businesses come to me when their leg is on fire. They don't come to me before to help build that strategy from the beginning. And so you focusing on that risk mitigation is huge, because just like I was talking about, if they don't do it right at the first, they make all these mistakes, and it's just compounding effects from there. So I love your process to take them through that and put those things out front ahead of time before it's too late.
I agree. Completely agree. Beautifully said. Well, I want to walk you through a client I had that was when I first took over this client. One of the things that my company does is we take a holistic approach to the client. So let's say it's a client that is looking to purchase another business. And maybe we take a look at, okay, is this the kind of business that you want to purchase? But before we go into the business portion, we go into what I call the circle of life. And why do I do that? I do that because I have dealt with so many entrepreneurs in my career where most of the conversation that they have with their peer group has to do with something that is lingering behind them and that is keeping them from going forward. So what we do is we take a look at every area of their life. And so what we do is take a look at their family. How is their family, their relationship, their main relationship, their career, education, health, community, recreation, and spirituality. Community is something that's really interesting for an entrepreneur because entrepreneurs really focus on their business, their inside of their business. One of the things that they don't focus on too much is community. Why not focusing in the community? Well, because you're too busy, or because you think that, okay, well, I've got these clients and these clients are really good and they're going to take care of me. Well, guess what? Statistics show that people do business with people that invest right back into the community. So there was a particular organization that hired me to come in and to take a look at something like this. That were going to be buying, or they had already actually made the negotiations to purchase another company. And when they purchased the other company, they didn't merge them together. They left them separate. And so when I came in, I thought, wait a minute, why did you do that? And they said, well, because our best customers are in that particular company. We want to keep them together. But the problem was that not only did they keep the companies separate, they were paying from the same place, and they were actually, the strategy was the same, but it was two different animals. So they weren't really capitalizing on everything. We brought in the community, and I want to talk about the importance of bringing in the community in the business. And that's only one slice of everything we talk about. Again, we take a look at their relationship with their spouse or their significant other. If that is not working, we tackle that very quickly so that that is not something that is keeping that CEO away from whatever it is that they need to do. But in this particular instance, we went into the community and we said, okay, how is it that you're going to get known into the community so that when you merge the two, then the community can actually help you rather than not. This was a rather a large business. And so we went in and we took the client into doing circles of community information. So they went into the community. They did some circles of people that were known to be influencers in the community. If you haven't read the book, The Tipping Point, that would be the kind of people that we looked at. So in The Tipping Point, Malcolm Gladwell talks about creating social epidemics and tipping the point into creating a social epidemic about that client. And so the way to do it is by going into the people that are the influencers and the mavens and the people that really know, the people that other people come to. So in this particular community, there were some restaurant owners that were really known in the community. There were also some organizations, some nonprofit organizations that helped the business clients, and they had a really good reputation. We teamed up with them and brought the client to that organization. We also got the media involved. And by having this client write articles in certain periodicals, educational articles, so that people would understand what they were trying to accomplish. And so it's almost like you're laying the groundwork for the community to really see that this particular business is really caring about the community and bringing in the community. The questions that they asked those clients or those people in the community were, if you were to do this, how would you do it? What would be the best way to accomplish this union of these two organizations? And how can we merge them better? The same thing, and there's a mirror effect that we did. Whatever we did with the client, with the community, we also did with their employees. So just like we did polling of the community people and the community leaders, we did the same polling inside of the company so that everybody felt that they had a voice. By having everybody inside of the organization and outside of the organization, when the two merged, it was really interesting because the people inside of the company uh, talked to the community and they let them know we're in a good place. We really are helping. And this company is really taking care of me, is taking care of my family. So the clients really helped spread the word. And we got the mavens, we got the social epidemic happening, and it was an absolute success. The performance in this particular organization increased by 43% in gross revenue. And in general gross revenue, we did not decrease too much expenses, but we really just took a look at what I call the numerator, which is the revenue. The denominator would be the expenses, but we really increased the numerator. So that's just a little bit of an example of some of the things that we have done with some of the companies. Again, people are going to purchase from you if you really care about the community. We extended something like this to a restaurant chain in New York City a few months ago, where they were doing something very similar, and their revenue increased. The community came in. We started utilizing some of their restaurants to bring in community organizations. They teamed up with communities, and as a result, the restaurateur, the person who was rolling out several restaurants, was a little apprehensive about rolling them out, but because of the community involvement, the community kind of brought them in, and so they're very successful, and it's still sustainable. So that's it on my part for some of what we do in my company. All right.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I just get to comment on yours, right?
Go ahead.
I love the community aspect on so many levels. Yes, as a business owner, you want to be part of your community and engaged with. And also as an entrepreneur, like you said, you get in your hole and you do your thing. But that community is what has skyrocketed my business personally, and getting involved with other entrepreneurs, not for any other reason than just to build like this, to have these conversations, to get other points of view, to get encouragement, to get ideas and just grow together. I think if you're not involved in organizations that allow you to do that with other strong, active, knowledgeable entrepreneurs, you're really doing yourself a disservice. And if your business isn't contributing to the community in any way, and it's just, especially as you're a virtual business, still engage. It can only come back to you.
Yep, very much so. Very much so. And I feel like most of the clients that I've ever had, and even in my own businesses, when I have had, whether a real estate business, manufacturing company, it doesn't matter, I'm always putting out educational information about the business, educating the client around when you're buying this kind of product, this is what you want to look out for. Not necessarily come and buy from me, because
Right.
when you educate and you give away your gifts, then
Mhm.
people tend to just come anyway. And sometimes it takes a little while for people to begin to trust you. But once they trust you, they're going to trust you with themselves, with their business, and they're going to trust you with their friends that they go golfing with, that they go to weekends with, and so forth. And so inevitably your business will continue to grow. All right. So with that, thank you so much, ladies, for being with us today. And if anybody has any questions about what we have talked about, we are the dream team, and that's what we're calling ourselves, because as a business owner and as an entrepreneur, whether you have a small, medium, or large business, this group is really here to really support you. Individually, we're separate businesses, but we do come to one another. And if there's anything that you have a question on, feel free to give us a call. The best way to get a hold of us, Elizabeth, how do people get a hold of you?
It's through Elizabeth at anurafinancialservices.com.
Okay, beautiful. And Amanda?
You can find me at expandyourempire.org.
And you can find me on LinkedIn, just Dr. Betty Uribe on LinkedIn. That's the best way to get a hold of me. You don't have to go through a executive assistant to do that. You just go straight to me, and I'm on LinkedIn just about every day. So that's it for now. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will talk to you next week. Bye, everyone.